What's going on out there, Odd Squad? It's your boy Bleed from Just Bleed MMA here on YouTube, and I got my man AlMac. How you doing, AlMac?
Good, man. Once again, it's not as early as last week, but it's still before midnight for me Eastern time, and we're wrapping up the fight cards, so I'm pretty happy about that.
I know, man. Is Dana White got to put the kids to bed? What's going on? We got these cards wrapping up early. It seems like more regularly now. I remember back in the day, it was like post. It would be the next morning early, and you'd be like, "Whoa, I gotta go home, man." It's been a long UFC day, but we get some early ones now. So, yeah, man, we're coming off of a great card here. UFC Vegas 12, headlined by the legend Anderson Silva versus Uriah Hall. We're going to go over the main card results here. And the first fight of the night, man, we had Thiago Moises getting the unanimous decision win over Bobby Green. And I got to tell you what, man, this was one of those fights where we knew at least one of these heavy favorites was probably going to come up short in this spot. I tried to warn people all week that the judges hate Bobby Green's style, and my goodness, it reared its ugly head tonight. Personally, I scored at 29-28 Bobby Green. Very close fight, though. Absolutely can see how you could come up with a 29-28 Moises. But I tell you what, man, I've already been doing my research. I checked it out. The MMA media members who also score fights along with the judges, 11 of them scored that fight 29-28 Bobby Green. Only 4 scored it for Thiago Moises 29-28. We see this a lot, though, in MMA judging, man. How did you see it?
It's so much to unpack here. As I was talking to you before we went live, I was watching the fight, and just, the way that Bobby Green fights with the very nonchalant style. He was very confident when the fight was over, but it was one of those things where I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if he got that, because, you can make an argument. You could make an argument for that third round, especially with kind of like that failed submission attempt like with 1:30 left. And yeah, you said it best. There's so many favorites on these cards. And what happens is you have a lot of people who are just betting the card. They're just betting UFC. They don't really know MMA. And what's happening is, it's like boxing. You're looking at the card and it's all just favorites. And, that's pretty rare, for the promotion that we've had a lot of underdogs cash over the past 18 months, but it's been chalk as of late, 21-2 since last week and this week. The favorites have gone, and it was just one of those things where I thought, Moises might have got the decision there. He was 10-1 to pick up the decision, plus 260 on the money line. And I thought it was kind of weird, because you looked at the over. The over was heavily favored, minus 230 over 2.5 rounds. And, it's almost a coin flip if Moises is going to be able to survive Bobby Green. I thought. So I thought you were getting a lot of value just on the money line. I bet Moises on the money line. It was one of the only, things that I hit right on based on where the value was, because I thought, hey, if this fight's going to go to the distance, it's more than a plus 260, plus 230 probability that Moises might be the one to get it done. So I thought it was a weird one, man. I don't really know how to describe it, but it was just one of those classic UFC fights where he in his mind, he got robbed, but I don't really see if it was a robbery. 28, 29, I can see it both ways. I don't really, there's an argument to be made both ways, and it was just, it is what it is.
Yeah, man. Well, it's one of those fights where when you look at the numbers totally suggest Bobby Green won the fight. But, when you looked at either guy after the fight, damage-wise, Bobby Green was wearing it. Thiago really wasn't all that beat up. And, Bobby Green is a decisionator. This guy is constantly going to decision. So I'm sure a lot of people had that Bobby Green decision prop. The other deal was, I think a lot of people felt like really the only path to victory for Moises was he finds the sub. Bobby Green hasn't been subbed in a decade, and he actually was in some pretty sketchy spots early on, which, if you watch the shows earlier in the week, myself and, some of my cohorts here on odds.com, we said Bobby Green leaves himself in bad positions, but he's just a really tricky guy to hit the sub. So Moises takes it to the cards, man, and they gave it to him. I will say this. I was surprised to get all three judges on the same side. I thought we were going to have a split decision for sure because, most people see it for Bobby Green. I figured at least one of the judges would, if not two. So when they said 29-28, all three judges, I figured it was going to go Bobby Green's way. And, man, they said Moises, and I know it was a heartbreaker for a lot of people out there. But nonetheless, man, a good fight. And, we scream robbery constantly in MMA, but that's not the spot, man. That was a close fight. I understand if you think Bobby Green won. I think Bobby Green won. But, very, very loose scoring system. This stuff's going to happen. So next fight of the night, we got Kevin Holland getting the verbal submission off of a slam. How in the world, when you slam a guy down and he can't continue, it's not ruled a KO, TKO? I'll never know. I guess Kevin Holland's the first man in UFC history to win by submission, and I guess the submission's called laying on top of the guy because he had nothing going on. He's just holding position while Charlie Ontiveros is telling the referee, I can't go. Something's wrong with my neck. I mean, he obviously was hurt from the slam. Nonetheless, officially ruled a submission. Boy, if you had Kevin Holland like I did by KO, a heartbreaking loss. You should have absolutely got paid on that one. If you had Kevin Holland by submission, wow, you scored on a very, very weird scenario. But nonetheless, man, Kevin Holland comes in here on yet again another short notice replacement, gets it done against Charlie Ontiveros. Me and about everybody, we knew Kevin Holland was going to get this one done inside the distance. There was just no way Ontiveros was going to be able to survive 15 minutes of Kevin Holland. Honestly, all things considered, it was a terrible number. I think it was about a -300, -310, Kevin Holland inside the distance, which is just nuts to get a prop like that steamed up that high. But who wants to bet on Kevin Holland -800? Nonetheless, man, -800 in a parlay or the Kevin Holland just generally inside the distance, or if you got lucky and hit the weird fluky sub spot, you got paid. But unfortunately, they scored that one real weird, and Kevin Holland by submission, I guess. What'd you think of that one?
Yeah, I mean, if that was a verbal submission, then shouldn't have Covington over Woodley have been
Bingo, my man. Right? Abso-fucking-lutely. Let's keep it real. Totally. I mean, as similar of a scenario as you're ever going to find. And that one was scored a TKO. So I don't know, man. A little funky, but this is MMA. Anything happens. It's the craziest sport in the world. This stuff happens.
Yeah, that's a weird one. I noticed that it took a while for my book to, I had over 1.5 rounds, and it took a while. There was a bit of a lag before they paid out on that fight. I thought maybe they thought it was a headbutt or I don't know. It was a weird one. That was one of those weird. It was so MMA. It was just such a weird, such a weird stoppage, such a weird fight. It was interesting. How do you say his name? Ontiveros. He actually got him with a bit of a kind of a fluky kick that dropped him there. And I was like, oh my God.
Stuff in there. Definitely. Yeah. He came out hot, which you got to appreciate. I think Ontiveros understood, the situation, which the commentary team, they didn't show it on the broadcast, but the commentary team talks about Ontiveros, was literally living a dream come true. That guy came out there, tears streaming down his face. I got to tell you what, man, I really hope that this guy's career doesn't end right there in the UFC. This guy could be severely injured, man. This guy got stretchered out of there. Yeah. This could be a serious spinal injury, a nerve injury, something very strange happened to this guy, and they treated it very serious. I haven't heard any updates, but I would imagine Charlie, Ontiveros is going to be at the hospital right now under very scrutinous observation, trying to figure out if this guy's okay. I have heard word that he does have feeling in all of the extremities, so hopefully we're not talking about, like a paralyzation type scenario, anything like that. But I don't know, man. He seemed to get injured in a very strange way off the slam. Yeah. I don't know if we'll see him again. I hope we do, though. A guy coming in on a short notice spot, that was like a 72-hour spot that he came in to, take this fight against a super dangerous guy. I think he deserves another shot.
Yeah, I was for like half a second there. I hope, I hope for the sake of his health, like he's okay and everything like that. But for half a second, when I saw him drop, I think Holland kind of lost his balance or whatever. I don't think it was like an actual, I don't think he dropped him per se, but for a second there, and then he threw that crazy like upward scissor kick, and I was just like, this guy's nuts. And then 2 seconds later, he was done. And so, yeah, he had a little bit of promise coming out to start the fight.
Yeah, he looked pretty good, man. And that's, probably what he needed to do. Who knows what the gas tank you'd have been dealing with taking a fight on such short notice. So, yeah, crazy fight. Let's move on to the next one, though. We had Greg Hardy getting the KO. Power jab to ground and pound. Yeah, that's right. He sat him down, hurt him with a jab. I mean, these are heavyweights. These guys hit hard. Greg Hardy, super explosive guy. But yeah, man, hopefully you guys followed me earlier in the week. I gave out a free parlay of the week. Anthony Hernandez, who ended up getting the very easy, quick first round KO, paired up with Greg Hardy, cashed with ease, man. 2 fights that, man, between not even 3 full rounds. Hernandez gets it done in the first. Hardy goes out there, ends up finishing Maurice Green in the second. Greg Hardy, looks pretty good. My goodness, this guy's a huffing and a puffing and a wheezing, but, goes out there, looks decent enough, gets it done, finishes Mo Green, and, rolls along. I'm not really sure what this guy's ceiling is. Does not seem to have the cardio in check, but hard to be mad at a knockout win. You know what I'm saying? What'd you think of this one, Al?
Yeah, like it was kind of a foregone conclusion. It was one of those things where I was more on Green just as a fade on Hardy. As I said to you when we were talking on Twitter, I don't think that based on how one-dimensional and his lack of a gas tank, that Hardy should ever be that big of a favorite. The thing that I was heavy on was the total, and what I was looking at was in these type of fights, the total is more or less a coin flip. And it was one of those ones where you were getting like minus 115 on the over 1.5 rounds and minus 105 on the under. And I was just sitting there waiting for the public to come in on the over, and they did. And then I was going to take plus money on either side, depending on where it's a coin flip. So I was just waiting for the plus money to come in, and it came in on the under, and plus 105 on the under. And it's just one of those things, man. It's a coin flip proposition. They've actually gone 19-19, the totals in 2020 in the heavyweight division. And, you're getting a lot of that plus money on the unders. So, it's just one of those things. Look, watch, sit and wait, and, fight time, come in and see where the public has come in, and you can get some value on those 50-50 plays.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. Greg Hardy, where do we go from here? Who should he fight next? I don't know, man, but there's a good chance that depending on the matchup, I may be fading him because, wow, yeah. If it's somebody who can really draw him out, avoid that kill shot in the first round, first half of the second round, man, he's just there to be hit. So, all right, we're already to the co-main event. We got Bryce Mitchell winning the unanimous, honestly, fairly dominant decision over Andre Fili. I do think Andre Fili probably won the second round. And unfortunately, Andre Fili, the only underdog that I picked this week to win, I did go 9-2 on picks. So, man, pretty solid night all in all. And honestly, a great night betting. But Bryce Mitchell, I thought I was going to be able to get him in this spot. I thought Andre Fili, the guy training at Team Alpha Male, the guy that's been in there with so many Division I wrestlers in the training room, and he's had to use that takedown defense. It just wasn't enough. Bryce Mitchell, the Arkansas boy, country strong, man. I mean, this guy in this fight, he looked like Redneck Khabib. I mean, he was just unstoppable with the takedowns. Fili had nothing for him. Bryce Mitchell rolls on, man. I just don't know what to think of this guy. I feel like he's getting better every fight, but at the same time, I feel like he's so green in the stand-up. Somebody's going to catch this kid at some point. He did not look good in the stand-up. Had a couple moments, landed a few good shots, but wow, don't sleep on this kid's ground game. The takedowns are legit, and the top pressure is crazy heavy. Bryce Mitchell gets it done yet again, officially moves to 14-0. What'd you think of this one, Al?
Yeah, man, you read my mind. I have written right here the first thing that I wrote. Bryce Mitchell reminds me of a backwater Habib. Like he's just so dominant on top. He uses that leg scoop and that type of leg triangle, the leg wrap,
Yep.
whatever you want to call it. And he almost has that S mount where he kind of like sits on you as well. And Fili, Fili he actually held his own on the ground a little bit. He was a lot better than people were saying that he was going to be. Like, not to take away, from Mitchell, he was dominant, but Fili wasn't that bad as people were suggesting. One thing that I noticed about Mitchell that he was doing really good was he was hiding the shoot and kind of like he was throwing that overhand left. He did a really good job of hiding the takedown behind that, like kind of a feint with that overhand left. And that was, I think that's what Fili didn't really have an answer for. He was, I don't know. He wasn't worried about his power. I just think that he was so, he was just so, I don't know. It was a weird, he fought a lot differently than what I would have expected him. Mitchell just has a crazy mentality of just going forward. And where did he get that cut from at the very end? I think he got that from the cage, maybe. He didn't really have that big cut until right at the end of the fight. Where did you see where he got that from?
I don't know. It might have been when he shot in. He might have eaten a knee. A lot of times a guy will get a cut on the brow if they're shooting in. And Fili did throw, a couple knees as he was coming in. But, I think even Bryce Mitchell, every time he ate the knee, still ended up getting the takedown. So, too little, too late by Andre Fili. But, it could have also been Fili started throwing some strikes from the bottom. Maybe he caught him with an elbow, something like that. But, yeah, Mitchell got cut. But honestly, man, it was just Bryce Mitchell all the way here. Like I said, maybe Fili won the second round, but two judges gave it 30-27 Bryce Mitchell. So one point, man, the live line moved way down. It looked like Fili was finally putting it together. But, man, Bryce Mitchell kicks it back up, clearly wins the third round. Bryce Mitchell rolls on, the undefeated Arkansas kid. What do we do with him? He's already ranked in the top 15. Do you really move up beating Andre Fili, who was unranked? I'm not so sure, but let's see him fight one notch above where we see Andre Fili, because I think this is a kid who's learning on the job and a kid who's getting better. Only 26 years old, really could be something, man. So congrats to people who took Bryce Mitchell throughout the week. All the money rolled in on Fili. So if you waited until the last minute, pulled that trigger on Bryce Mitchell, you got him at a very good number. So congrats to the Mitchell backers. And there you go. We are already up to the main event of the evening. Uriah Hall by KO TKO, 1 minute, 24 seconds of the fourth round, finishes the legend Anderson Silva. Looks like the send-off for Anderson Silva is going to be a bloody KO finish. 45 years old. What is there left to say? Fight was very anticlimactic, not a lot of action. As a matter of fact, it was a fight that I anticipated a lot of respect early on and very minimal output. And I got to be honest, man, this fight played out so beautifully for me. I ended up taking the fight does complete 3 rounds, which was a total and absolute sweat for the last 10 seconds when Anderson Silva gets crumpled, sat down, literally holding onto Uriah's leg for his life as Uriah's hammer fisting him. Herb Dean, you did me a solid tonight. You let the fight go to the bell. Great awareness from Herb Dean, my man. And then you know what? I actually had a sprinkle on round 4 and 5, Uriah Hall. Plus 1,400. Uriah Hall cashes in the fourth round. Anderson comes out in the fourth, actually looking pretty good. Seemed to recover pretty well from the knockdown in the minute on the stool. Uriah catches him with another big shot, as I thought he would later on. Finishes the legend. Man, a very, I can't say disappointing way to go out for the Spider. He looked very good. If this was a 3-round fight, he probably wins that fight 29-28. Yep. Maybe you give Hall a 10-8 round with that late knockdown in the third. But up until that moment, Anderson Silva looked very, very good. Really good for a 45-year-old. Like I said, a 3-round fight. Anderson Silva very likely gets his hand raised there. It's those 4th and 5th rounds, though, man. We're talking about a 45-year-old man. I figured at some point Hall would land the shot. Anderson wasn't going to be able to take it. Played out beautifully for me, man. Cashed heavily, made it a very profitable night for me. How did this one go for you?
I got it. I had the fight going over. The fight goes under 4.5 rounds, minus 120. It was kind of around minus 120 there on both sides. It was one of those things where I didn't really. I thought that Uriah Hall was going to be gun shy the whole fight, and he gained that confidence in that fourth round that I kind of wasn't really counting on happening. Which we'll get it back. We'll get that loss back when the market's going to be on like pretty high on Hall in his next fight. And I got to tell you, man, I don't see what those people are seeing with him. I thought the blueprint for this fight was going to be Hall to just simply attack the legs, wait him out, and then explode. And he just seemed gun shy. And Silva was landing on him. And like I've said all week, there's a reason why Israel Adesanya called him a human punching bag, because he just, he's got good head movement, but he's not elusive enough to fight these top guys. And it was kind of the opposite of what happened against Costa. He had a lot of confidence in the fight to start off with Costa, and then kind of faded, and then Costa got him. It was kind of the opposite here, where he was really he was reacting to everything that Silva was doing, and then he started to get his rhythm and started to interrupt Silva's rhythm. And I just thought he was going to go the legs more. I thought that would be the path to victory for him. So It was really, just from like an MMA perspective, not a betting perspective. I was kind of let down. He cashed for everybody. I saw, some people are on him plus 140 inside the distance, and that was a good bet to make. And congrats if you did that. But I think the real money that we'll make is where they put Hall next, and the value will be against him, because I just didn't see I didn't see enough from him in this fight at all. And to be honest, like you said, if that was a 3-round fight, Silva wins that fight, man. It's plain and simple.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I tell you what, man, for being a KO finish, Dana White at the post-fight press conference kind of did Hall dirty, talked about the crazy minimal output, and honestly, it wasn't a super exciting fight up until, that good shot by Hall put Anderson down. And, that by then we finished the third round and go into the fourth, and Hall ends up landing another big shot and finishes with the ground and pound. But speaking of post-fight press conference, man, we kind of got some big news coming off this card. Israel Adesanya is going to move up in weight and challenge Jan Blachowicz for the 205-pound strap. I got to be honest, man, I dig it. I think Dana White said Robert Whittaker's just not interested in the rematch. I would absolutely rather see Israel Adesanya versus Jan Blachowicz at 205. That's just way more interesting to me, the whole moving up in weight. I tell you what, they also announced we have a new season of The Ultimate Fighter that's about to come out, which, is a comeback. It's been years since we've had a season of The Ultimate Fighter. What I wonder is are these both going to coincide? Are we going to see Hall and Blachowicz coaching teams is what I'm thinking. They didn't announce it that way, but it seems timeline that would probably line up pretty well. Maybe they just didn't have the deal in effect, but who knows? Maybe I'm totally off and they end up going with 2 other guys, but I wouldn't be surprised if we end up seeing both guys coaching The Ultimate Fighter as well. What'd you think about this?
It seems like they're making the path for Adesanya to face Jones. If Adesanya becomes the double champ, that's the fight to make. That's the fight of the sport. That's the fight of the decade. That's the fight of the century. If you got, Adesanya as the double champ taking on the returning John Jones, and I'm not discounting Jan Blachowicz. He's a whole problem in itself, but I got to say Israel Adesanya wins that fight, man. And what do you think? Have you seen any odds? What do you think the line is on that?
Man, that's a great question. I honestly have not even thought about where where that line would be. I would imagine Adesanya is probably going to be the favorite, though. You know, he's never been beat. Blachowicz has been defeated. But, man, you know, I feel like the thing is, it's probably a pretty favorable matchup for Adesanya. You know, Blachowicz isn't really taking people down and using any ground and pound. And I think really that's the last arena where we haven't seen anyone really challenge Adesanya, taking him to the ground. And honestly, I think Blachowicz is probably willing to go in there and stand toe-to-toe with Adesanya. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. Israel Adesanya is the greatest striker in UFC history, and that's just an absolute strategic error from Jan Blachowicz. Maybe he goes in there with a game plan to put him up against the fence, use dirty boxing. I'd highly recommend it, man, because I tell you what, 20 pounds of weight or not, you know, and Jan Blachowicz is a big light heavyweight. He's cutting to 205. I'm going to be interested to see where, you know, Adesanya comes in. You know, I know he's cutting weight to 185, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Adesanya showed up to this fight weighing 200 pounds, you know, coming in under the limit, you know, just doesn't really blow up, doesn't add any muscle mass. I think he's good enough as is to go in there and beat Jan Blachowicz. But wow, interesting matchup, man, and one that really got kind of dropped on us out of nowhere. I wasn't hearing any rumblings that this was a possibility, but you're absolutely right. What I'm feeling is Israel Adesanya more than likely beats Jan Blachowicz, takes that title, and lures John Jones back to a 205-pound title fight. That will be the absolute blockbuster thus far in this new decade of the UFC. So I hope we get it, man. I'm very excited for this matchup. I think it's going to be great. Very intriguing in so many different ways. But we also got a little bit more news. It looks like McGregor Poirier at 155 hasn't been confirmed for the title yet, but you've got to imagine if they're going to make it at 155. Khabib's out of the picture. Gaethje's coming off the loss. Looks like this is probably going to be for the undisputed 155-pound title. How do you feel about that?
Well, you know, it's interesting because he also said, you know, Khabib isn't, you know, there's no vacant title, but I think that the only reason he's doing that is to try to get it so that fight is even bigger when they announce the fight, and then they announce Khabib's not coming back. This is for the interim belt or whatever. You know, it's going to be, it's one of those things where it's going to be, they're going to keep it under wraps. We'll probably see that the fight is announced before we know if it's for a belt or not. And that's just going to be the buildup. This McGregor Poirier fight's going to be, it's going to be huge, man. It's going to be even bigger than McGregor Cerrone. That was kind of a, you know, that was kind of a disappointment. This is a real fight. You know, Poirier can win this fight. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be like January 21st or something like that. It's going to be right around when the NFL playoffs are happening. It's going to be huge. It's going to be the biggest fight of the year in January. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, well, it sounds like from the timeline, it's going to be our kickoff to 2021 in the UFC schedule, because I think we have 4 weeks of no events starting the week of Christmas. We go through the new year, and then from what it sounds like, we'll come back about January, like you said, 21st with what? That'll be UFC 256? 58?
58, yeah.
No, you're right, because we got 2 more events to happen. Wow. We're just flying by with these UFC events. So I think you're right, man. So yeah, I can't wait. Should be an absolute bomb matchup. I mean, people forget we've seen these guys run it once already before, back when they were both very young at 145. Conor went out there and just kind of dusted the diamond, but both guys have grown so tremendously. Yeah. This fight, I think, is going to be far, far closer. And the skill gap between these two has narrowed so much. I really think Dustin Poirier's got a chance to win this fight. He's absolutely going to be the plus money underdog in this spot, being as it is officially a rematch. We know that, you know, rematches are usually won by the guy who won the first time from a statistical point of view. Yeah. But, man, this is going to be an exciting matchup, and I'm expecting it to be absolute fireworks. So, that's it, man. We've pretty much wrapped it up. That's your main card, and even we've got you some tidbits on some upcoming fights in the UFC. Be sure to tune in. We've got a lot of MMA UFC content. If you're new to the channel, man, first off, hit that thumbs up on this video you're watching right now. But be sure to hit subscribe and turn on those notifications and head over to odds.com. This Monday, we've got the Die Hard MMA podcast with your boy Clint, good friend of mine, and he's got a very special guest. You're going to want to tune into that. We've actually got a Wednesday Dana White Contender Series this week, which is crazy. Man, a Bellator on Thursday, and yet again, another UFC this Saturday, and you need to come check with me and the boys Friday for the final weigh-in, where we'll be breaking down this UFC Vegas 13 card, getting you those picks, those bets, those leans, and making it another very profitable night. Tonight was a very profitable night. I hope a lot of people took my picks and parlays and all that madness. If you'd like, head over to my channel, JustBleed MMA, here on YouTube. Every Tuesday, I drop my full card picks for the upcoming Saturday. Do a lot of line movement beating, man. We get out in front of a lot of spots. I got to tell you what, some of these favorites tonight, I smoked by literally full dollars on some of these lines. Paid generously. Couldn't have gone better.
Nice.
Great event, man. Is there anything you'd like to say, Al, before we get out of here?
I'm super hyped now about this Adesanya Blachowicz news, and just I'm super excited. We thought November was kind of be dull, and we got that Makachev event.
Oh yeah,
against Rafael dos Santos. So it's gonna be it's wild here.
Definitely, man. I can't wait for it, man. We've got so much great stuff coming up. The UFC is on fire, but you know what else is on fire? Odds HQ and odds.com. Thank you guys for watching, man. Appreciate the support. We'll catch you next week. Until then.